you are, who you are, who you are. The song is who you are. Hi there, this is the Fresh Tunes Music Show. My name is Dave Puls, and today I'm going to do something different that I haven't done in the last 7 years of having this radio show. I'm going to share a live recording from the show called All in All with Deborah Magone that was done a few years ago, and she interviewed me on the show, and I must say I've never felt more comfortable doing an interview with someone. I won't say too much more about it. It was from 2019, and it was from Deborah Magone's show called All in All.
Hi, everyone. You're listening to All in All on Rochester Free Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Magone, here in Rochester, New York on 106.3 FM and globally online at rochesterfreeradio.com. And now podcasts can be listened to on podbean.com, all in all. These are times that test us all, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And like a wise elder once said to me, where there's a will, there's a way, and I hope your will is strong and that you're finding time to be selfish, meaning taking care of yourself first. For your spirit, feed your spirit, do empowering things, think empowering thoughts, have fun, explore, seek out empowering people and things that feed your spirit, give you courage to be yourself and create, meditate and connect with your creator. And do everything I just mentioned in good balance and moderation. Right now, I'm going to play for you an interview with someone I think is fairly balanced. And he's one of Rochester, New York and Rochester Free Radio's own, Mr. Dave Puls. He's DJ of Rochester Free Radio's Fresh Tunes Show on Friday afternoons. A very creative and inspired, prolific musical artist, songwriter, fine artist, animator, teacher, artist activist, an all-around great guy. I really urge you to check out some of his videos and check out this interview coming up next, right here on All in All. During the interview, we actually found out we attended the same school, College Without Walls, Empire State College, back in the mid-'70s, and there were also a few other surprising things we had in common. So as promised, interspersed with some of his awesome original songs of substance, here is my interview with Dave Puls. Hi, Dave. How are you?
Pretty good, Deborah. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you so much. I wanted to tell you that I love your videos, love your songs. You are definitely one of the most creative DJs at Rochester Free Radio because you hit in all mediums. And I know other DJs are artists, visual artists, as well as, audio on air. But your videos are so intense and detailed, and I know how long some of those, animations, claymations can take. That's like intense work. So I have to ask you, what kind of a house did you grow up in that, did they nurture your creativity?
I grew up in a family with my dad worked 2 jobs, and he was a factory worker and never cared for any of this music stuff or anything with any of us kids. And my mom, other than singing in church, never, although when I would later in adult life play music in the coffee houses, my mom would be out there supporting me and drag my dad out, and he would fight it. But no, we were never encouraged that much as kids to pursue the arts. So it's interesting that I ended up the way I did.
So when did you first start showing your talents? Both, I guess let's start with the artistic one, your animation, your fine art talent. When did that start showing?
I can remember as a young kid, I would draw Bambi from books or whatever. I would draw Bambi as well as I could, and they were pretty good for copying something. Uh-huh. So I did have an intrigue with Disney characters even at that age.
Did you get that thing in the mail that said draw Bambi as best as you can and you'll win something or other? I remember, where was it, in the mail or backs of magazines or something?
Yeah, that might have been where it was. Maybe 10 or 11 years old, probably in the mid-60s or so, or early 60s.
Yeah.
I remember the ones where you draw the pirate or whatever, and you send it into the, to the commercial art school to
Yes, that was it. That was it.
And then all you need to do is buy these things once you're evaluated as the greatest potential.
Yeah, that was a good marketing strategy, wouldn't you say?
Yes, very good.
So now after that, you were your drawings were turning out pretty good. Then what happened? And did you study in school?
A little bit in high school. I actually just took an architecture class in high school and got into that some, so that kept my drawing. And then it came to a point getting out of high school. I played football in high school, and it became a decision whether to pursue the sports or pursue the arts. In the kind of the hippie world was coming in. I wasn't a hippie, but I had appreciated a lot of what they represented or the ideas they were promoting. So I had to decide if I was going to go that artsy way or pursue the sports. And even though I got an offer to try to come, RIT had just started up a club football, and they were going to go into their division whatever with a football team. And Tom Coughlin, who is the coach at Jacksonville and New York Giants, was the coach at RIT, and he wrote me this flowery letter that said I was one of the best players in Rochester graduating this year. Would you come to RIT and play for us? Well, I asked him if there was any scholarships, and there wasn't. So that encouraged me to pursue the arts. And then I went to MCC and Brockport, and ended up going to Empire State College, where I actually got to study with an artist that studied over in Austria, learning how to do old master painting techniques.
Wow.
Philip Jacobson, he came back to Rochester with that knowledge, and through Empire State, I was able to work at his studio every day as a prime thing that I was getting credits for.
Wow.
And that kind of redirected my whole life to want to pursue that.
Wow. Now, I was there at the same time you were.
Oh.
I went to Empire State College too for only for about a year though. I went to SUNY Brockport for art, but that was like a wrong decision.
Yeah, it was for me too. I went for about a semester or two.
Now, was your music running parallel all this time? Like, could you have said to the RIT football coach, "I won't play football, but I'll come and play some music for you," or
A little bit, but all on my own. I was like playing out under trees and writing songs, but not performing too much for anybody in the early 70s.
Nice.
And then when I played a few times with a friend that I was working with, and he said one time, "Well, I just set us up to play at Red Creek." And I said, "What are you talking about?" Because I wasn't into playing out. And he said, "Oh yeah, they have an open mic night, and I signed us up." And I was like, "What am I getting into? That's not what I wanted to do." But he got me out there, and that started playing out and playing with a group called Cotton Hollow Band through the 70s, and playing at coffee houses, and that's how that music part developed.
Oh my God, I have to ask you, what year did you play at Red Creek?
That must have been 76, 77, or maybe 75, in that time period. And they used to have this thing before where you could eat all the soup and bread and butter that you wanted, and then they get you to buy the beer, of course. But us that didn't have too much money would go out there and just fill up on all the soup. They had great soups and all the breads they had.
Well, for my listeners, if those of you who've never heard of the Red Creek, it was an awesome joint, and they used to have some of the most famous players there stop in to do a gig or just to jam, and a lot of old blues guys, as well as many others. And I was persuaded by my college roomies to go do the open mic one night in 1976, and that was my very first public performance at a public venue like that. And it was one of those, whoever gets the most applause wins the $20 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
We share a lot of history, you and I.
Yes, I played my first original song that a night in the amateur hour called Cold, Cold, Cold.
Oh.
And how people were telling me I should go out and make a lot of money in my playing music, and it kind of felt like, well, let's appreciate what we're doing right now, kind of a thing.
Yeah, don't push me, right?
Right.
I've got cold on my left, I've got cold on my right. I've got cold everywhere, ain't nobody gonna keep me warm tonight. I'm feeling cold, 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 that's all I know. I'm feeling cold, 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 oh so cold. Got everybody rushing by me, go towards something I just can't see. I asked a friend where she was running to, she just laughed and ran away from me. I'm feeling cold, 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 that's all I know. I'm feeling cold, 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 oh so cold. I like to play my music, I like to sing with all my soul. I like to play for my friends, I should play for money, so I'm told. I'm feeling cold, 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 that's all I know. I'm feeling cold, 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 oh so cold. Cold on my left, I've got cold on my right. I've got cold everywhere, ain't nobody gonna keep me warm tonight. I'm feeling cold, 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 that's all I know. I'm feeling cold, 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 oh so cold.
The animation and stuff, you won a lot of film festival awards from 96 to, I'm seeing 2007. You won something in Red Bank. Is that Red Bank, New Jersey?
Yep. So they won the best, I think, that year. And if correct me if I'm not wrong, that was Sharks in the Water, was it? A pretty political song for about the George Bush administration.
Junior.
And kind of a cut-out, humorous spoof kind of a thing, kind of a jib-jab kind of play up, not nearly as well as theirs, but
cool.
Yeah. And that one, they had here's a great festival at the Berkeley Film Festival, so it was quite a hit there.
Oh, nice. I have family in Red Bank. And then the Rochester International Film Festival a few times.
Yeah.
And what's the Telly Bronze Trophy?
It's kind of it's actually international, I think, for commercials. Mostly it's for a lot of commercial stuff that companies enter to try to get awards for stuff, but they get independent producers doing animation or music videos. So it's a sizable one, you never know how much, you kind of have to market yourself when you win these awards.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite prestigious, but it's a lot of commercial stuff.
And then you had independent shorts that were broadcast on PBS on the Screening Room with Jack Garner. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. He had a show there for a while, and he liked my stuff, and he kind of said, I'm blanking on the artist's name, but anyways, he had a real connection to the style of my limited animation at the time, but I was able to get my songs out there. It was very early in my independent projects where I was doing whatever I could on my own, which took a year and a half sometime to produce some of these little 3-minute music videos.
Yeah.
But they turned out well, and I kind of got hooked into that film festival thing, seeing how many of my pieces I could get in there and get seen out there. The best one was when it was the Boston International Film Festival. I didn't win the festival, but I played right before Selleck, who did the James and the Giant Peach.
Oh, wow.
He had a piece called Moon Girl, and he had a studio that produced a little short film outside of the feature films that he worked on. Wow. But mine played before his, so I said, "Ooh, wowee."
That's good company. That's good company. Yeah. Now, when did you start with Animatus, and are you still there?
I started in Animatus once I went to graphic design school for a year after I got laid off from being a rehab counselor for New York State, and I worked at the Psych Center, and then they had a summer program, full-time, 8 or 9 week program, animation, and they had teachers from RIT that were teaching the class, and I took that, and that was about 93, 92 or 93, and then I asked Fred, who owns Animated Studio, I said, "Oh, can I come and work for you?" And he was very small and just struggling along. He said, "Yeah, but you won't get a regular check." It was all contract, basically, which was fine with me. I was able, from my savings from working for the state, subsidize my living expenses while I learned the skills. Nice.
And so are you still there?
So I'm kind of semi-retired. I'm no longer the creative director, which is kind of stressful sometimes. There are always time constraints and changes. And, now I'm 67, and I've kind of gone semi-retired. I still teach. I teach in the recreational centers in the summer, and I teach at workshops at the studios on Saturdays throughout the school year, and then in the summer we do a 2 full day, 4-week kind of a program here at the studio. So I still enjoy doing that.
And one of my former music students was taking classes there. And just for my listeners, because we're global, I just want to mention Animated Studios is in Rochester, New York, and it's an awesome learning environment. Not only are they very talented to contract out for any of your animation needs, but they have some awesome classes going on there too. So now, what would you say to any young or any person, young or old, that wants to get into animation? What's the best beginner learning program that someone can buy for their computer to get started to learn how to do something like that?
Well, we use a program called Toon Booms, and there's different levels for different prices of what you need. You don't need the fancy one that we necessarily have. It's called Toon Boom. That's a good one. Some folks have gotten pretty good even on using Photoshop or something, being able to draw frame by frame and see it play. It's not, you won't be producing lengthy movies or anything, but when you're starting out, I would tell anybody if they're in school, check with their school or somebody that's a little knowledgeable of the computers, or just do a search on the computers at school, and they can often find programs searching animation on the school that might give them the starting. And that's all you need in the beginning. It's almost a step beyond flipbooks. We'll still, sometimes professionals will play around with flipbooks, and actually folks will see a number of them on YouTube or whatever, that professional artists still play around with flipbooks where they take photos of each of each drawing. So it's doing it, and that's where you learn how animation is in the world of time as well as artwork. So you have to learn how to time things as well as do just the drawings. So other than taking a class at the animation workshops here at Anime Studio, who is also an underwriter of my program on Fridays at 2 o'clock, the Fresh Toones Music Show, they underwrite that program, so I'll give them a pitch whenever I can.
Absolutely.
But I teach in that class, and that's a good place. I teach in a lot of the rec centers around town. Sometime in the summertime, check those programs out. If you want to just start out and have a little bit of fun, it's a great way to start.
Awesome. I'm going to look into that. Toon Booms. So now back to your music. All right, let's talk about first, You Can Do It. We're going to play. A song you played for clients when you worked at the Rochester Psych Center as a rehabilitation counselor. How did that one come about?
Just from knowing the folks and getting very personal with helping them out in their struggles that they had. And I was lucky enough they would let me come in one evening after their dinner, and for an hour I kind of got people together in this library that we had set up for the folks on their ward, and we'd have sing-alongs, and this was a song I kind of wrote for them, trying to build up their confidence and that's what I was doing as a counselor, pretty much, is trying to find ways to work things through and give them possibilities of how to do that. And this song addresses that, and then addressing the thing that there's something inside of us. If we can connect to that, then I think we can do a lot of things that we thought we couldn't do.
You can do it, you can make it through it, even though you might wonder why. There is something inside you, and it's walking beside you, and it is larger than yourself, and it's whispering your name, and it's wiping your eyes, and it's touching your soul, set you free. You are unique to this world. You need to let your flag be unfurled, to be who you are, and that is all. The sun has sprouted your seed, the warmth has lifted your head. Now you know what you know, and that is all. And it's whispering your name, and it's wiping your eyes, and it's touching your soul to set you free. You can do it, you can make it through it, even though you might wonder why. There is something inside you, and it's walking beside you. It is larger than yourself, and it's whispering your name, and it's wiping your eyes, and it's touching your soul to set you free.
Awesome inspiration. Well, people, I think, are learning a little bit more than in the old days how healing music can be, how therapeutic, and I was just in a small way involved with that One Little Finger movie that you might have seen in my post, and that was all about music therapy and just bringing out, well, speech in disabled people who for 20 years nobody thought they could speak, and next thing you know, here comes a music therapy instructor, and all of a sudden these patients started having a voice, and one of them is now a DJ. It's just amazing.
Wow.
True story. Yeah.
That is so cool. I did do a little bit of that. They got a keyboard for me, and there were a few particular clients that wanted to play around with music, so I had a little chance, little side things. Basically, the rehabilitation counselor is trying to get you to find some work programs that you can pursue and then follow up when you get out of the hospital and stuff. So that was the primary thing that I worked on, but sometimes they would let me go off script a little bit, which I really appreciate. I think the clients really appreciated that.
Oh, I'm sure. So, now, if there's a will, there's a way. That reminds me of a very menacing nun from my grammar school years, in Catholic grammar school.
That's exactly what I was reading about.
Talk to me about that song. It's about the death of Eric Garner, or did you have the song first? And tell me how that came about.
That one came right out of the death of Eric Gardner, and people feeling like, we can't. This is just overwhelming. We're not going to be able to fix this. Basically misbehavior on people in authority. That's where that song came from. I'm trying to think, and it in a way, sometimes when I'm writing these songs, I'm building up my own energies to believe what I'm writing about. It might seem strange,
sure,
but sometimes I'm singing to myself as well as others that we can do it. Just stick with it. It may be a long, slow haul, but we can do it. And going back to the other song, but
yeah, because that's what I do too. Solutions, right? You're empowering yourself and others through music. It's a wonderful way to do it. It really is. And I found when I was young, it was more acceptable than walking up and screaming at somebody in their face, like, there's a will, there's a way, you can't get away with this, Music was more acceptable, so the way for expression. But that's pretty awesome. And what a tragedy about Eric Gardner. And I was reading about his daughter, who was an activist also, and was she an activist after the death of her father?
I believe so.
And then she had a heart attack.
Yes, yeah.
And passed on.
She never got to saw some of the resolution that's come out of it that still needs to be worked through, but only imagining the thoughts and feelings that she was having that may have caused that stress that caused that heart attack. Who knows, but yes. Very tragic.
America can't breathe if we refuse to see the things we need to change today. We've worked through harder things. Some say this one's too big. There's a will, there is a way. So lift up your eyes now. Stand up and say, well, she's not perfect and neither am I. We've got to work together if we want to survive. We've got to use our heads and figure it out and be brave enough to look at ourselves. 'Cause America can't breathe if we refuse to see the things we need to change today. We've worked through harder things. Some say this one's too big. But there's a will, there is a way. We've got to lift up our eyes now. Stand up and say, well, she's not perfect and neither in mind. We've got to work together if we want to survive. We've got to use our heads and figure it out. Be brave enough to look at ourselves. America can't breathe if we refuse to see the things we need to change today. We've worked through harder things. Some say this one's too big, but if there's a will, there is a way. 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 If there's a will, there is a way.
Actually, earlier in my work career, I'd be working at the psych center as a quote therapist aide. I would often see some abuses that I had to either step in and redirect, usually the staff member. And I wrote a little 6-minute documentary of those experiences called Parallel Worlds, and that was inspired by Abu Ghraib. When I saw that, it kind of made me flashback that that's the same stuff that we saw in the early 70s when I first went to work at the psych center. I was kind of like an attendant that you saw in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but I was a good guy. But there were a lot of instances, and it happened less when I spoke up a few times. I would be there, not that it wasn't happening, but I was there during less of these incidents. And in this little documentary thing at the end, how the New York State resolved it, took them 100 years to figure out. New York State mental health is make every employee, if they don't report it, they're as guilty as the person that did the behavior. And that cut back a lot of people speaking up, made people speak up because they had retirements and all this rest, that they would have to say, hey, I'm not going to risk my job or whatever because you're doing this kind of behavior. It didn't stop it totally, but it cut down a lot. When I went back there later, I left and came back, I could see some change because that was in the training now. If you see it and you don't report it, you're as guilty as the person that did it.
Wow, that's good to hear that at least the state was making an attempt to try and resolve those things. Wow. So, okay, now, that joke's got to go.
All right.
What's that song about?
The bribery that just overwhelms our politics. That joke's got to go, that this is free speech that we're talking about when it's clearly changes of finances from one group to the other by the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision that said money was equal to free speech. No, it's obvious to all of us, and that's what that song's about. That this has got to stop, and kind of like it's kind of a bouncy bluesiest kind of piece. So that's what that's about.
Everybody our politicians spend all their time digging for gold. It's time we did something about it. That joke's got to go. We're not laughing anymore. We've been burned right to the core. Raise our voice and say no more. We've been flirting with disaster. Big donor money has become our master. said their names, but we all know. We're not giving up without a fight. Those that fought before us are by our side. When you see something wrong, you just got to stand up right. Everybody knows our politicians spend all their time digging for gold. It's time we did something about it. That joke's got to go. It's time we did something about it. That joke's got to go.
Just so outrageous now that it's also out in the open and still happening, right? So stand up and be your love.
Just basically the old we've got to stand up for what we know is right. And when we do that, then that'll be expressing our love. And then I have other songs that kind of a general gist of when we can do that, stand up and be our love, that love comes back to us, as a number of other songs have espoused. And
basic law of the universe, right? You get what you give.
Yeah. So that's kind of what that's about. It's kind of it's not heavy politics in the end. I try to end up my songs and my videos with some kind of positive thing that the people stood up and they did bring about the change that need to come. Kind of hopeful. It's hard to believe it, but then I play these songs to say, oh, we can do it.
No, it's great. You know, you state the issue and then you think of solutions and then end on a positive message. I think that's perfect. And I have to tune in to Stephen Colbert now and again just to lift my spirits and see how other people handle, you know, these tragedies and issues that we're all dealing with right now. And some people, like myself, we just get too serious sometimes. Virgo needs to laugh a lot more. And so I'm doing my best to also think of solutions and have uplifting messages. And all right, this is happening and here's what you can do about it, you know. And my show as well, especially with my Karma Corner segment.
There's just no way, so they say. Just close your eyes and close your mind. Say that's okay. Well, it's not. It's not okay. It may take some work. It may take some ways to bring about some changes, to gain a little justice, try and make things fair in this world. It's only fair to have equal justice, to be sure that your children are fed. It's only right to raise our voices. What's killing us are the things left unsaid. Stand up, speak up, rise up and be your love, to bring about some changes, to gain a little justice, to try and make things fair in this equal justice, and to be sure that the children are fed. It's only right to raise our voices. What's killing us are the things left unsaid. Oh, stand up. Oh, speak up. Rise up. Be your love. And be your love.
So now, who you are. We can't afford not to sing our song because our song is who we are. Tell me about that one.
It's interesting that after writing songs for almost 50 years or whatever, some of the simplest songs that I'm singing about, other people have sung about, but they're coming out pure and sometimes more simplified over many of the songs that I've written over the years. And this one was basically one that remember that you've got to sing your song because that's who you are, and if you don't, then you won't have yourself. And basically sing it in the street, sing it in the shower, but in the end, make sure you're singing your song.
I've always sung this way, I don't know how else to say. I can sing you what I've got, it might not seem like a lot. You can only sing your song, they might say you sing it all wrong. But if you sing it from your heart, then the song is who you are. Who you are. Who you are. Who you are. Your song is who you are. Sing it in the shower, sing it in the street. Sing it like you mean it, and your life will be complete. Who you are, who you are, who you are. Your song is who you are. Sing what you believe in, sing it with all your love. Give it time to grow with, and your song will become who you are, who you are, who you are. Your song is who you are. One more time. Who you are, who you are, who you are. Your song is who you are.
Expressing your voice, the part of you that makes you unique, more unique than any other writer, singer, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm not as afraid these days of saying cliche, or some might say cliche themes and songs, because I bring something new to it. And actually, thinking about that, I've just started again recently taking a painting course at Brighton Extended Courses in the evening.
Oh, nice.
It's with egg tempera painting, which I never did too much of. I was always oil and egg tempera mixed technique. And so at 67, I'm getting back into the thing I went to college to do. And people might say, well, why would you pay for a course? Well, it disciplines me, and I do learn some things from the teacher if I come up with something that they can help me with. But in the end, sometimes whatever can keep us doing is an important factor. And even if you take a course that's something you took many years ago and you think you know it, it might rejuvenate something or get you in the habit of doing that thing again.
Good for you. I often tell my clients, make a list of things you used to do when you were young that made you happy. And you're going to find a few of those things that if you got back to doing them right now, you'd be happy as a clam. And I'm doing it myself as well, getting back to the old me, what things that I used to do, you know. Especially now that I'm empty nesting, it's a whole, new, getting back to who I am, and of course, first asking the question, who am I? But
and I think you figure that out by doing. And I have an old song called "Do and It'll Come to You,"
nice.
And that's the most important. And I used to tell my clients and the folks I worked with, okay, if you're really, and it might have been easier for me to say than what they were experiencing, but I always, if they can do something, and that's why sometimes some of the simplest jobs or things we did, it got us doing something. I think the brain works on things. It's kind of like the brain works on things when we're sleeping. Mm-hmm. We might work on things that's kind of mundane, or you just kind of disappear into it. Sometimes I do it with music and art, but your brain is doing other things. I think as you're doing that thing where people say, "Oh, it's like he's just doing a paintbrush moving across something." No, in that communication, the brain is figuring out things and putting yourself into that thing that you're working on.
And sometimes you get so focused into it, your brainwaves can slow down. You're enjoying, you're at peace, you're calm, and then you get inspired. You hear intuition, the divine, whatever, creative force can come through easier when you're nice and relaxed and doing those things. And that's where wonderful, beautiful creation comes from. That's awesome. All right, so now we got one more song, We Sing Out. Tell me about that.
This is a song written, Pete Seeger wrote this song with some kids called the Rivertown Kids, and it's from the kids' perspective that even though they can't vote, they can sing out and speak up, and it's an environmental song, and I've been trying to connect Greta Thunberg with it, but there hasn't been that connection yet. I've been writing on her Facebook. It's a perfect song. It's basically the kids singing about the different issues, about how we put things in our river, lakes, and stream, and they don't go away. and then, of course, as we sing out, because we have to let this be known, basically. And so that's a great song. And I just discovered it probably 6 months ago, but I play it as much as I can. I don't play out a lot, but I always play that song.
Well, you're only kids, they say, and you'll run the world someday. In the meantime, just relax, don't say a word. We can't vote, but don't you see, we can sing out musically. We sing out so our voices can be heard. We sing out so our voices can be heard, can be heard. We sing out so our voices can be heard. Cars and factories everywhere place fossil fuels in the air, and it's making our earth warmer every day. With water, wind, and sun, clean energy for everyone, and we don't have a moment to delay. We sing out so our voices can be heard, can be heard. We sing loud so our voices can be heard. And every time it rains, oh, waste goes down some drain, but it doesn't really go away. We put trash and gasoline into rivers, lakes, and streams, and it shouldn't always have to be that way. We sing out so our voices can be heard, can be heard. We sing loud so our voices can be heard. We can help the sick and poor, the world's people need much more. We sing out for justice and equality. We'll give voices to the meek, help all others hear them speak, and the earth will be the best that it can be. We sing out so our voices can be heard, can be heard. We sing loud so our voices can be heard. All together now. We sing out so our voices can be heard, can be heard. We sing loud so our voices can be heard.
You're listening to All in All. I'm your host, Deborah Magone, and we are interviewing Dave Puls today from Rochester Free Radio's show Fresh Toones, and he's teacher, animator, artist, singer-songwriter, and very reminiscent of Pete Seeger, Woody Guthrie, in my opinion. And I also think that a children's music CD is in your future, because I can just see the animated videos now. They would be amazing. And so when we get back after this break, the conclusion to my interview with Dave Puls. And during this break, get yourself to YouTube and look up some of his videos. It's like eye candy, and it's pretty amazing, some of the things that he puts together and crafts and creates. And his videos are very inspiring. And at the very same time, knowing how long it takes to put those videos together, they can be exhausting to think about. You're quite devoted. Dave, much kudos and respect for your talents and gifts.
We sing out so our voices can be heard. Cars and factories everywhere place fossil fuels in the air, and it's making our earth warmer every day. With water, wind, and sun, clean energy for everyone, and we don't have a moment to delay. We sing out so our voices can be heard, can be heard. We sing loud so our voices can be heard. And every time it rains, oh, waste goes down some drain, but it doesn't really go away. We put trash and gasoline into rivers, lakes, and streams, and it shouldn't always have to be that way. We sing.
I'm back, and here is the conclusion of my interview with Rochester's own Dave Puls, DJ of Rochester Free Radio's Fresh Toones show on Friday afternoons, an inspired, creative, prolific musical artist, songwriter, fine artist, animator, teacher, artist, activist, and all-around great guy for those of you just joining us today on All in All. Here's the conclusion to that interview. I had a great time talking to Dave, and I sure hope those of you who are listening are inspired to check out his radio show, Fresh Toones, and to go check out his videos on YouTube, because they are just amazing works of art, not to mention the awesome songs of substance relevant to issues and politics of today.
Just do
All right.
So now, where can everybody, what's your main pages? Tell us.
If you want to check out the videos and the animation, you can just search Dave's Fresh Toones at YouTube, and the Toones is spelled with two O's. Dave's with an S, Fresh Toones. And I've got about 150 different videos posted there. I just been posting a documentary I did about my mom who just turned 100, so that's pretty cool.
Oh my God, that's awesome!
It's called The Girl of the Finger Lakes, if anybody searches for that.
She
grew up in, out towards Geneva in central Finger Lakes area of New York in the Depression, so she has some really interesting stories of that experience.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that. That's awesome. Oh, and that's it for your pages? Is there anything else?
Basically, I have a website called Fresh Toones, which has two O's instead of a U. You could check that out. And it usually has links to, it'll have links to YouTube and everything else on there. And then once again, your radio show? Yeah, the Fresh Toones Music Show is on Fridays from 2 to 3. I've been doing the show for over 3 years now. It's right from the get-go. And I think you have been on there long too, Deborah, right? Yeah. Yeah, once again, parallel passions going on here. And for the listeners, that's, of course, the same radio station, 106.3 FM, Rochester Free Radio. We're both happy to be a part of that team, and so happy to have been invited to be a part of that team. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Dave, and learning about you and your creativity. Please keep doing what you're doing and keep up the great work. So proud to be your friend.
It's so nice to have connected with you, Deborah. You've been very supportive, and your one song that was so rebellious at the time there. What was it? You did a big music video with it.
Oh, It's All About Money.
Yeah, when I saw that, clicked into I have a number of those parallel songs. So when I hooked into that, and I don't know how we connected up after that, but that's been great for us to be, even if we don't have that much contact, we're supportive in our efforts, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Money, 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 money. Like a lot of your songs. Well, alrighty then. You have a wonderful weekend and have a great day.
All right. Thanks so much, Deborah, for having me on your show, and good luck in the future, and we'll keep getting our issues out there and playing our music and doing whatever else we need to do.
Thank you. The door's always open, so, come on again, okay?
All righty. We'll do.
All right, Dave. Thank you so much.
Bye now.
Bye.
Who you are, who you are, who you are, the song is